There's really no way anyone can predict a technology failure or system event that occurred as a result of human error or neglect, natural calamities, or an act of terrorism. But once an organization acknowledges that these types of events are inevitable, it can begin preparing for something rather than attempt to survive it. And preparing for such events requires a business impact analysis, or BIA.
Hi everyone, I'm Marianne Blackwell here with Guidacent, along with our Threat Recon Cybersecurity, Drew Williams. Drew, thanks so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to talk about what is a BIA and the impact that it may have on your business and what you may not know about a BIA. And I'm just grateful I was able to write down some questions that I think some of our viewers would find beneficial, Drew. And I also was able to receive some questions from some of our viewers today. So
okay,
bear with us, and if you'll just talk us through this process. So for our viewers, what is a BIA?
So a business impact analysis is it's a means of measuring the continuity of an organization's infrastructure, whether that's financial risk or non-financial risk, should an event take place, something that's either potentially catastrophic or unplanned, an emergency of some sort, whether it's a natural disaster or human caused. And so a business impact analysis is really the first step. It's the groundwork to establish what are the parameters, what are the priorities that an organization wants to consider if something bad happens. It's going to take in consideration its resources, its assets, and its potential for liability due to some set of compliance issues or governing regulations. For example, there may be a component for financial concern. There may be a component for protecting proprietary information, which you'll see from things like the Privacy Act, the GDPR, the CCPA. And so all of those things come into play when looking at a business impact analysis.
A BIA approach requires a clear understanding of where business objectives are supported by operations within the organization and ensuring that those processes are protected. Your organization's BIA can become a valuable tool in helping to guide you through the necessary response and decision-making processes should unforeseen events result in operational disruptions.
So why does an organization need a BIA? Why is that so important on the forefront of what we see happening or not happening? I think people wait, like you talked about, for something to happen before they really understand that their business definitely needs a BIA. So tell us why.
Yeah, that's heart and soul of the whole thing. Most organizations, and I say most, I mean many organizations, doesn't matter what size they are, they generally don't prepare for a bad situation because they just anticipate it's never going to happen to them. But once it does, they're shocked. I mean, nobody expects an airplane to fly through a building, right? That's not something we can expect, but it happens. Nobody expects a volcano to erupt, but it happens. We may expect an earthquake to happen, but we expect it to happen somewhere else or we're used to it. But other issues like somebody letting a bad person come into their system because of a phishing campaign or a ransomware attack or stealing data, falsifying information. These are things that can corrupt and cripple an organization's reputation and its productivity and its ability to maintain functionality, if you will. So what do you do when the lights go out? And the lights always go out at some point. It could be a natural disaster. It could be a planned event. It could be an unplanned event. That's why it's important to have one of these in place.
And a good starting point for any organization would be to consider the ISO 22317 standard for BIA planning.
So what do you see as some of the challenges of preparing a business impact analysis? What do you see?
Yeah, I see a couple of them that are really consistent. One is resourcing, making sure that you've got the right people just conducting a BIA. And most of the time, and when I say most of the time, I suggest all of the time, an organization really needs to bring somebody from the outside because it provides a sense of objectivity and a general level of autonomy to say, we don't know your organization. We don't understand the processes and the functions within your organization, but we need to evaluate from your perspective what works, what doesn't work, and why. And let's give you a scenario that says, hey, the lights are going out. What do you do? So that's a challenge, making sure that they pick the right resources to do the thing in the first place, somebody that understands how to do BIAs.
ISO 22317 calls for the BIA to identify activities that evaluate the business impact of what might happen should a system operation not perform its essential activities and is no longer able to as a result of an unplanned event.
Now, from some of our viewers, we appreciate your feedback and your questions that we have for Drew. Drew, how do I prepare for a BIA as an organization? And this is a great question that's come in, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, so the first thing an organization needs to do is make sure they have a champion. They need somebody in the organization to say, we need this, we need to fund it properly, we need to bring somebody in from the outside who's not politically motivated, is not incented to be right, to serve as an observer and to participate using a set of known criteria. There's so many places you can download BIA templates, for example. But the goal here is to really work with an organization that wants to have an understanding of what happens when the lights go out. And again, an organization really needs to invest in this kind of a service because, first of all, you only have to do this once every year, maybe 2 years, and you get a really good idea what happens when there's a problem. We call this in the military, we call this a defense readiness plan. If something happens, how do we react to it? And at what level do we react? So those are the things that you really need to start with as a champion in the organization who may not understand what a business impact analysis is or even what continuity is, but knows the business needs it and then reaches out to people who have the experience in preparing these.
So when you talk about a BIA, are there software tools that people instantly, because I think when people think that of the BIA, it's like, okay, so what now do we have to invest in?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need BIA tools? Any kind of software application that would help?
Yeah, there are tools or applications that you can use to kind of track and map. I find that a good spreadsheet written in Excel is just as effective. Although some years ago, one of my teams was actually contracted to build a BIA template for a software compliance company, which they have since now created as their product. But again, I don't recommend introducing a new tool to an organization just for the sake of doing something like this. But I do recommend that you look at their tools and their library to make sure that their applications don't have any codependencies or interdependencies on their success should a tool go down. That is something that we take in consideration when looking at a business impact analysis.
Thank you to our viewers today for listening in on what a BIA and what an impact it could be on your business. And Drew, thank you as well for coming and answering some of these questions that are very important for organizations to even know where to start with the BIA.
I appreciate it. Thank
and
you. Yeah.
How best can they reach out to you? What's the best way?
Sure. Well, you know this, Guidacent's done dozens of these business impact analyses for business sectors, whether it's financial or healthcare, the public sector, government agencies, and so on. You can reach me at drew@guidacent.com. We would love to help. And I don't care what size the organization is. We probably have the experience that they need to prepare one of these in a cost-effective manner. We don't have to bring an army of people in. We don't have to ask hundreds and hundreds of people the same questions. We'll get a pretty good idea of what those risks are going to be by just knowing the organization, where it's located, what its resources are, and how it does business. And that's really what it comes down to, is how do we get in, understand your environment, learn what the risks are, help you mitigate what those risks are, and then quietly leave. And that's really what our objective is when we look at these business impact analyses. And we'd love to participate. And I think every organization needs one, because you never know when the lights go out. The lights are definitely going to go out at some point. You know what to do if they do. That's really what it comes down to.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you again to our listeners. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out anytime. Have a great day.
Thanks.
If your organization needs a cost-effective solution to addressing how to best prepare for something unexpected, contact us at BIA@Guidacent.com for an introductory discussion regarding how to best approach preparing your